Okay, so here we are at the Speakeasy's door, and you're probably really excited to get to stories of the Speakeasy, but to actually accurately tell you stories of the Speakeasy, you first have to understand about the neighborhood, about what was developing at the time, and about the history of Prohibition and Detroit and Prohibition. If I just start talking to you about the Speakeasy, either one, you're probably not going to believe some of the things I tell you, or you're not really going to have a larger understanding of why it would have been so important in this particular spot. So I picked the door of the Speakeasy, which is actually obviously not the original door, and it has a name, and we named it the Mantis. Why? I have no idea what the original name is, and I hope maybe one day, maybe it was called something, and maybe we'll find out. But for right now, I decided it needed a name, because if I keep saying the words Speakeasy over and over and over and over again, I get irritated. You may get irritated. I don't know, but I definitely get irritated. So it needed a name, like all bars. I think in the fall of 2022, after I bought it into early winter, I kept trying to come up with names. And Tegan's probably the one who consistently told me, "Now that's dumb. Don't, that's dumb. That's dumb." So it didn't get a name until last summer. And we just got the door done with a logo by my daughter, and I'll put a picture of that up a little bit better later. But Jules Lightbody is the one who did the logo for me, because she's amazing. So why the Mantis? Let's discover. So why the Mantis? There's a story behind it. People's stories are important. And even though this isn't the story of this place 100 years ago, this place, this building is still collecting stories and people. And this is a part of its journey. So I was out last summer at a very terrible point. I had a bathroom collapse, a wall in the kitchen collapsed. I was peeing in a bathtub. It was bad. I was homeless. It was bad. And I had gotten some metal cabinets, or about, I don't know, 70, 80 years old, from the salvage place. And I had been out by myself trying to work on the house, or outside trying to redo these cabinets. I was working 12, 14-hour days all by myself. One day I'm out doing the cabinets, and I was ready to give up. And I don't mean that in a metaphor way. I mean, I was ready to just simply walk away and never come back here again. And at that moment, I was out in 90-degree sun, sweating. I was dirty, because even though I could pee in my bathtub, I couldn't take a shower in it. So I was having to take a shower every couple days at the truck stop. And I'm out there cleaning these cabinets and the sink off. Next thing I know, as I'm talking to myself, swearing to myself, I'm leaving, all of a sudden I see a praying mantis on the hose. And it just stopped me in my negative thinking for a second. And I thought, oh, cool, praying mantis. I haven't seen one of those in years. I've definitely never seen one in the neighborhood, even though I live by the river. So I keep working. Next thing I know, 10, 15 minutes later, this praying mantis is on the sink right next to where I'm working. He's there about, I don't know, 45 minutes or so. And in between that time, I start talking to the praying mantis, because at the time it seemed slightly less crazy than talking to myself. In hindsight, it probably isn't, but at the time, it seemed plausible to talk to the praying mantis. Then I was cleaning everything up after about another hour or so, and the praying mantis is gone on his merry way. My new little best friend was gone. I didn't think anything of it. As I'm bringing the supplies back in, right here, right where that mantis is right there, that was where the praying mantis was. As if to say, are you slow, lady? I'm here for a reason. And as crazy as it sounds, in that moment, it actually gave me some hope. Some hope that maybe I am supposed to be here. Maybe there's a reason God put this into my life. And the other thing it did was it brought back a ton of memories that I had. Memories of going to college at Kent State, living for a decade in Kent, Ohio during all of the 90s. And that was a great time. I loved that time. That time made me who I am today in a lot of ways. But over the years, I had forgotten that. I'd forgotten that Kim. You know, you have kids, you have demanding career, you have schedules, you're worried about money, loss, grief, all those things. And that praying mantis reminded me of the underground club we used to all hang out at called the Mantis, which was on Water Street across from JB's Up and Down where I worked, and is actually in a book like the Rock and Roll Road Trip book. So we had tons of live music, tons of stuff. So as silly as it sounds, in that minute of seeing that praying mantis on this door, I thought to myself, well, one, I guess I got to let go and let God, because I'm here for a reason, and I just got to stick it out to figure out why I was put here in Detroit, in this particular place. The second thing I realized was my kids are grown and out of the house, and now it's time to figure out Kim 1995 version 2.0, right? To get back to those things of who I am, where I come from, and the experiences I've had in my life that have brought me to this place. So that's how it got to be called the Mantis. And I'm going to put some links in the description for information on Kent, music scene in Kent back the 60s through the early 2000s, stuff on the Mantis. We went to the Water Street Gallery, Bellies, all of those things. So that's how it got to be called the Mantis. And it might sound silly if you don't know, but if you know the Mantis, you know. So from here on out, I'll be referring to it as either the Mantis, the Speakeasy Mantis, but this is where our journey is going to start. The next part of the story is going to be taking you around the neighborhood and telling you about the long lost history of this amazing neighborhood, Jefferson Chalmers. So I hope you'll keep coming back to learn about the history of one part of Detroit, prohibition history in Detroit, and the history of this really amazing building that I live in and the secret hidden speakeasy underneath. And I think it's about time to actually dedicate the Mantis. I'm going to dedicate it the same way I figured out the name, by myself, with just the Mantis. Dedicated.